Click the subscribe button below. If you find the information useful, please click the like button, to help others find our content. For more information you can visit our website, at thejerusalemassembly.org.
The Jerusalem Assembly. March 3, 2016. America's Dark Hours, Period 1 and 2, 2012, 2019 by Ruben D. Garcia. There is no single way to explain the events that are about to unfold for America because it is an outcome that has been brewing for years and affects all aspects of the American life. There are a variety of events that have already taken place that acted as seeds and now have sprouted. In fact, some have been subtle and others eventful. For this reason, I am taking a decisive approach in offering the apocalyptic approach as it was conveyed to me. I am not seeking fame or public acceptance. I am mindful that the incidents and events of tomorrow will have enough merit in convincing even the skeptics. There will come a time when everybody, from the media to the religious entities, will be looking for answers as God's decree is executed against America, and the truth which for now is overlooked will be real. Psalm 119:142. In order to produce an apocalyptic era with massive convincing, a majority of people must be encountered in a somewhat spiritual denial stage, and nothing or nobody is going to change their mind, and it is this attitude that prevails today. It is the perfect state of mind to have the greatest impact and fear when it is enacted. Most of you have a good idea what has created this spiritual state of mind, but for now you may not want to consider that just maybe there is an alternative that may jeopardize you and your loved ones if overlooked or underestimated. Isaiah 43:9. Again, I am mindful of the skepticism of the American people. I do not blame them for such deep-rooted feelings. It is expected within a society that is technologically and to some degree financially secured to feel invincible to any misfortune when a religious ideology is so powerful and overwhelming that obscure the light of truth. Isaiah 59:14. It is for this reason that the apocalyptic prophecies have found to be some sort of a plague of which denotes not to touch unless you seek death. Daniel 8:19. Besides the fear of uncertainty, there is also a sense of apprehension. For example, millions of people live in Los Angeles and San Francisco. They have heard of the big one for over 30 years. There have been various tremors, but none of these small earthquakes encourage people to leave. Don't you think the people in this area would love to know exactly the day and hour of the major one? Absolutely. If they did, they would pack 3 days before it would happen and wait it out in Arizona and New Mexico. The same is with apocalyptic disclosures until it happens. 1 Thessalonians 5:2, 2 Peter 3:10. The present view of the apocalyptic ideology is severely ridiculed and in many cases completely ignored by most Bible readers. However, the heavens will not remain silent not much longer. Thus, it is important to recognize that it may be a small truth in all of what the prophets such as Daniel, Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, and Jeshua spoke so passionately. Isaiah 22:5, Jeremiah 30:8, Ezekiel 39:22, Luke 12:46. Therefore, many of the prophetic signs and events have already taken place beginning in the year 1998 and with the birth of the nation of Israel in 1948. For over 1500 years there was no such nation until 1948. It was not only an ending to exile and non-existence but a beginning of prophetic times as described by the prophets. It is often repeated by well-known evangelists, ministers, and other religious readers how great it is to be alive during these times. The reality is that if you were to have the opportunity to see into the future, your spirit would shake with fear, sense of anguish, and feel the sorrow that awaits to humanity. Revelation 18:8. Since the birth of the nation of Israel in May 1948 to the year 2016, 68 years have passed. Is there a significance in this? The answer is yes. In 68 AD Nero, the sadistic emperor who burned Rome, died. Also, the conflict between Rome and the Judeans is at an all-time high. In 66 AD Jewish people rebelled against the Roman Empire. By 70 AD Roman legions under Titus destroyed much of the city and the Second Temple. In 2 more years, 2018, Israel will celebrate its 70th year of independence and birth as a nation. Again, for many this is just circumstantial, but in reality it is not. There is an agenda devised directly for the nation of Israel, and God is the architect. The United States does have a role within this divine agenda, but sadly, it is not on behalf of Israel, as I will outline in the next paragraphs. During December 2012, after much emphasis about the Mayan calendar and their interest of December 21, 2012, many scholars and scientific people believed that something catastrophic would take place during this period. Well, to some degree there was to be a significant sign. It was not an ending but a beginning, in which humanity would be entering an era, a stage of awareness only experienced every 5,125 years. The last period occurred around 3100 BCE. If we correlate this period with what possibly took place at that time, you will find that during this period it was called the Early Bronze Age, about 2000 years after the Great Floods took place. What is significant is that during this time, the earliest forms of writing began, and because of this, scientific people can have a glimpse of past cultures. Ever since then, mankind has been evolving in all aspects unto today's technology. Therefore, the Mayan calendar did not predict an ending but a new beginning. However, this beginning comes with dangerous warnings. So let's look at the period for year 2012 to 2016 first, and then to year 2019. Much of the year 2012 and 2016 has already taken effect and significant episodes have already taken place, but it is the year 2016 that has many people nervous, for it is the period of emotional and spiritual unrest that will prolong our anguishes and uncertainties. From January 2013 to the end of the year 2015, we have experienced social unrest. The social arena has been suffering various battles and blood has been spilled in its sand. According to the vision for that period and the next until December 2016, the unrest will continue spreading to other areas, affecting the financial stability of business, the American monetary system, and even exposing religious fraud along with scandals. From April to September 2016, an overwhelming separation will exist between minorities and the whites that will become a breaking point in the autumn of the year 2021 into a modified civil war. This confrontation will be the result of seeds planted during the election of the year 2016. Since May 1998, this country has experienced deceptions, greed, and a high degree of mendacity from which there is no reprieve. The current moral decaying attitude and spirituality in America will culminate in 2028 with a despicable act in the White House. Such act will stunt the religious and political elite. It will make the Clinton sex scandal of 1998 look like a child's tea party. From mid-April to late August of 2016, there is going to be various verbal attacks among parties, the Democratic and the Republican. In fact, animosity and slander will be the main theme throughout the election period. Even the media will be taking sides. Each media making every effort to bring down the ones they do not support. Expect certain unrest among not only the media people but also various agencies and organizations taking sides. Also, new allegations will rise against our current president, and also against the Democratic contender. Slogans such "It is Obama in a skirt" will prevail. In the opposite, Democrats will launch a campaign slogan such as, "Stump Trump." It will become so ridiculous that the character of America as a superpower and leader of the world will come into question. The bickering, accusations, and verbal disagreement as to avoid Mr. Trump may take an ugly view at the convention. It will be in both of the conventions. There is danger of there will be, rioting, friends turning against friends, and violence with possible deadly consequences. These incidents will be later recognized to be brought about from the political leaders of both parties in Congress who have publicly denied support for Mr. Trump or the Democratic contender. Because of their attitude and nature of their stand, according to the vision, there may be an attempt not to deny the nomination but the presidency completely. This plot, called for the time being, is but a thought in the mind of a few of those in Washington, DC but lacks the bravery for right now. But as the election gets closer and closer and the verbal fights continue from both sides of the aisles, unstable minds are listening to all of this, and in a spirit of the moment a violent act may be witnessed with terrible implications. Food for thought. A new superbug will start making its presence late November, just as the Zika mosquito virus did last year and this year. It will be for a while and will go away until 2032, when it will be created in a lab and will be spread around the world as a biological weapon. It will be categorized as an annihilator among scientists. There will no cure for it once it is in the organism. Financially, the stock market will remain strong, but with the possible violent act mentioned above, it could alter the market, causing fear among investors, making the stock market plummet down, and much of the paper wealth will be incinerated in matter of days by massive selling by middle of year 2017. The fear of the instability of our political system and the overwhelming debt of America will be the culprit of such devastated financial chaos. There will be pleas and anxious requests for the government, Congress, to straighten up their act, but it will be futile. Disaccord and complacence will be prevalent between the years 2016 to 2017. There will be a short reprieve from all of the verbal accusations due to a natural incident in America that will concentrate all efforts in dealing with it in Congress, but by the end of 2018 it will reemerge again with fierce efforts, especially if the country selects Mr. Trump and he is bold and decisive in confronting congressional representatives for their inability to work cooperatively for the well-being of the nation. The leadership in Congress will be at odds with the new president. This demagogic attitude will infuriate the people of America, and some of those outspoken politicians today will quickly be replaced by the year 2018, and others by 2022, with new, more modern-minded individuals with emphasis on focusing on America's future and its people. From 2017 up to 2019, the USA will be contending with new areas in which terrorists will be targeting. I am expecting for a new flare of kidnapping of influential people throughout the world that will become a norm. As the Western world has destroyed various oil resources for the terrorist groups, financial support for their efforts will come from ransoming high-caliber people. Key people in America must keep in mind that the freedom to go anywhere and do whatever they can do may be constrained substantially as colleagues around the world are kidnapped for ransoms. It is expected that from 2018 to 2019, there will be an increase in security agencies and agents to protect the rich elite. Life is about to change drastically for the wealthy of America in the decades to come. There will be trouble and sorrow as continuing mass shooting continues. In some cases, it will be by individuals with a grudge, other times a well-planned terrorist attack. Some will be done on behalf of a spiritual consciousness, others in anger and frustrations, especially during the period of the financial chaos where many people will lose their savings and become irate with a system they will see as failing them. Toward the end of 2016, there will be continuing animosity among the populace and the local protective agencies. This will be caused by the deep sense of insecurity the country is going to go through in the year 2018, as more and more people are becoming more frustrated with political systems in chaos and with little interest in harmonizing the American people. Rather, we can already witness the dysfunctional environment in Congress. From all of these uncertainties, some agencies will rise to the challenge and begin to make worthy intentions among the populace, the political system, and civil authorities. A great effort will be made by these organizations to show compassion and dedicate their people and members to practice what they preach: love thy neighbors as yourself. Most of these organizations will cater to the needs of the needy, the homeless, and the forgotten ones. A valiant effort will be launched in early 2018 to begin bringing comfort to the needy, especially the ones that will lose much during the chaotic stock market. These agencies will look after the war veterans, the elderly, the handicapped, the lonely and forgotten children. A push for caring for the needy American will be launched by small religious groups, emphasizing that support should be given to agencies that provide food, shelter, and clothing to the needy, and not to give toward extravagant churches, or for services of the elite religious of a church. By this compassionate act, these caring organizations will save children, the elderly, and in many cases from death. There will be a rise in spirituality between August of 2017 and last until February-March of 2019. This will come about by the easing of certain rules from the Vatican that will encourage for parishioners to become more involved and expect more from their churches and their church leaders. However, the greatest spiritual achievement will be as the Vatican begins to incorporate a new look about themselves. This new look or idea is for the Church to become more universal, involved in the protection, caring of their followers. In simple statement, the Vatican will request to become a member of the United Nations, or at least to have a direct input within the United Nations. By end of the year of 2018, the United Nations will begin a slow descent toward less authority. The various terrorist groups will mock the directives of the United Nations. In fact, they will not recognize the UN as any entity except as an obstacle to their objective. The inability of the United Nations to defend anyone will be confirmed when terrorists in Africa kill United Nations peacekeeping soldiers. In the third year of the new president, a new combat front will emerge in Southeast Asia. It will test the leadership of the United States. It may look like a gamble by the part of the terrorist, but it is a well-planned strategy, for as the USA is still keeping up with the Middle East, Southeast Asia is becoming the new front. In addition, China may have the biggest surprise of their existence when it becomes aware that North Korea has drawn a plan for supremacy of that part of the South China Sea that includes the threatening of the newly built islands. This region will remain unstable and on a warning mode for all of the countries of this area. However, there is significant danger around these islands because two major earthquakes, one in northeastern Japan, will send a tsunami toward the north. Another tsunami will strike the shores of South Vietnam. Smaller but significant earthquakes and monsoons will be witnessed around the Indian Ocean, threatening and killing thousands of people. The oceans will remain restless from the spring of the year 2017 to the year 2020, especially the Pacific. In one vision, by the year 2062, many small islands of the Pacific will disappear. Portions of India, Florida, New Guinea, will be underwater due to glacier meltdown, which will precipitate by middle of the year 2050. An underwater earthquake of magnitude 7.8 on the Richter scale will happen along the Pacific Rim and will cause devastation again around the seashores of Indonesia. Seismologists finally will be publishing by late year of 2019 that the plates along the Indian Ocean, the Pacific Rim, are creating incredible pressures and are at the verge of collapsing, creating massive underwater earthquakes, possibly creating tsunamis and possibly devastating low-lying lands around the world. Various earthquakes will continue rattling the nerves of the people of California. The San Andreas Fault will be very active between early 2017 and end of 2018. Two 5.3 and a 6.1 magnitude earthquake will rattle San Francisco. Fear will begin to mount in this area as seismologists focus on a small stretch of land in Northern California that will show some weakness, and if a 8.0 or better strikes this region, it could easily have this isolated area break and the waters from the Gulf could rush in and erode the wall of rock, sand, and dirt that currently hold the ocean back. Such scenario is frightening, and it will be made public, for if this scenario ever were to take place, California would be, well, islands. So, the year 2016 will be a year preoccupied with election fever, slander, greed, deceitfulness, betrayal, and promises that will not be kept. Lack of trust in the political leadership in Congress is inevitable. We will witness political drama and in some cases Greek tragedy scenarios. There will be sorrow and suffering brought about by mass shooting in the least of places thought. There will be a cry for help in various aspects of our society, from social, health, and finances, for all the parties involved to begin to harmonize their ideals and principles. In some way, during this period most of the demagogue will be around in trying to blame someone else for the hell of a mess we are going to be in. Sadly, much of the time and money spent in the year 2018 searching for amiable solution to our social dysfunctions will be great on paper, but time-consuming and costly. Still, getting together and talking about it is a good beginning. It will be many years before all parties and agencies do agree to a workable plan to straighten the social chaos of the country that started in 1998. Literally, each group, from the minorities to the affluent need to work their own internal conflicts before they can solve other people's problems. It is the year 2021 when a prominent black person will rise and along with a prominent Hispanic leader work together to harmonize the two cultures and work toward common unity and prosperity. By 2027, a new, diversified but practical approach will be enacted and both minorities with vast needs and social, educational, and health issues will succeed in bringing the much-needed peace in American society. The year 2017, we will be preoccupied with the world at large. Not only because of natural effects will cause chaos and distress around the world but also fanatics that continue to carry their fanatic causes. A sense of insecurity will hover not only over America but also throughout the world. This will be a year of little innovation, medical discoveries, or expansion. It will be most recognized for a style of stalemate attitude that will prevail in Washington, D.C. Next, it will take a year of healing due to the bruising the year 2016 will do to the country. Among the slandering and mistrust, small progressive agencies will maintain a steadfast direction in helping the needy of America. The world will become more in urgent need than in the last 5 years. Disease and natural causes will be prevalent throughout the world. Conscious Americans will feel that somehow something has been lost. The American consciousness will remain in a form of stunt after the elections and will continue well into the year 2017. People will begin to consider that somehow God's hand is in all of this. They will want and seek answers. The religious entities will jump on the wagon by ascertaining that God has a handle on all of this, but they will ensure their parishioners that all will pass and God will just extend His mercy and all will be well. The answer is that it will not. This trend will be the beginning of people beginning to be cognizant that the church cannot help, and somehow a new spiritual wisdom will become apparent as people slowly will become discontent and distant themselves from their churches, and begin to directly be involved with God and not through a mediator. This trend will last over 5 years. The youth of this time will not see the churches their parents attending to be no more than places for socializing. It is the youth of the year 2020 that will have the greatest impact as to the restructuring of the spiritual America, and religious leaders will recognize that they are losing a grip on the religious attitude of the American people. The year 2018 will improve somewhat, but a new round of wars in the Middle East and the USA unable to deal with further expenditures for wars that are futile increases the likelihood of a rising leader among the fighting groups. His efforts are more direct to unite the fighting groups. It is during this period that Southeast Asia begins to see the groups rising to question the local leadership, creating a degree of restlessness in the area. Also, during this period, the new president of the USA will make an effort to bring about a Palestinian nation with Jerusalem as their capital. This endeavor by the new president will have severe consequences by 2047 and 2048 when the nation of Israel celebrates their 100-year of existence. The attacks launched in 2017 against Israel will be defeated, but the toll of deaths on both sides will be high. It will be a test of the leadership of America. It is viewed as the deciding point in America toward the end of times scenario. Various bombing will take place in the city of Jerusalem. Property damage will be high, however some lives will be lost, but the people of Israel will remain strong after these attacks. Also, this is the year that some talk will begin to take place about the building of the Third Temple in Jerusalem. The opportunity for this event will be sprout by the discovery of a temple relic valuable to the building of the Third Temple. The year 2019 will be significant in the fact that this will be the year for spirituality to reign over America. First, because of the eagerness to want to build the Third Temple, but it is far more than just wanting to have it built. It requires much more preparation that many Christians do not recognize. But at least a degree of excitement will hover over the religious arena in America. This year 2019 will be filled of better expectations. In all aspects of industry, finances, and construction seem to be looking brighter. The new elections are now around the corner and candidates are lining to become part of the American history, however there is still some bickering left from the year 2016. The American people will replace various voices in Congress for their attitudes of 2016, and it will start to bring some relief to the political system. Still, there is much deceitfulness, mistrust, and dishonesty in our society, and 2019 is no different in this aspect from the previous year, but the significant aspect is that the American people are more wise now than they were in 2016 when both parties became unruly, violent, and even threatening. The financial aspect for this year is not oblique, but neither is it bright. The last 3 years hit hard the pockets of everyone. The suffering class was of course the middle class, who is the one that lost the most in the stock market. By 2019, silver and gold do have a prominent place in our economy, but it does not have the value it did in 2015 and 2016. In fact, the debt is so astronomical that any investment in business is constrained by taxes and rules. The industries that went overseas found that such trends were profitable back in 2010 to 2016, but in the last 3 years, with natural events and the ever-present conflicts among religious parties in these countries and the uncertainties of their governments, has decreased their profits. Besides, the cost of various everyday items have risen in prices that middle-class people, the source of all buying power, have slowed down. Additionally, the higher cost for gasoline has made it difficult for the sale of larger vehicles, and the higher interest rates for a vehicle has kept buyers from the showroom. The most successful vehicle is the 2-seater car equipped with a small detachable trailer, usually found on motorcycles. It is used when extra space is needed for carrying loads. Lastly, this will be the year in which religion begins to look at themselves and realize that a new sense of spirituality is needed. From the Vatican to the Americas, there is evidence that people have come to the realization that the old ways of conveying spiritual guidance has no sanctity, nor is it valuable to everyday lives. In 2019, religion has to change, and it is the Vatican that takes the lead by beginning to be transparent and more oriented to the need of their followers. In late 2019 and 2020, American churches recognize the urgent need to bring in new followers, as the youth that once was expected to follow after their parents have avoided association and are now into Oriental dogma rather than the Western ones. A religious council will form in Atlanta in late 2019 to deal with this trend. This council will be the one that will support the presidency of an individual that would conduct an abomination in the White House in the year 2028. Lastly, by the end of 2019, a dreaded skin-eating bacteria will make its presence in Africa, but it will also be found in Asia, Europe, and in America. Initially, it may only be affecting poor areas, but after 8 months, it was going to be found that it was brought to various areas of the world by the new terrorists using biological entities to fight Western cultures rather than weapons. It is going to be very effective because there will be regions where mobile labs will be created to produce such specimens. The new terrorists is not an angry warrior or defector, but a graduate of a university in computer technology and biochemistry, and for the next 2 decades this will be the type of terrorists with the deadliest armaments, bacteria, and viruses, along with computer technology. Also, as areas are drenched with rain and storms, other areas of the world will be dealing with drought and pestilence, especially the third world country in the Sudan, East Africa, and Australia. In conclusion, there are many other small events which will affect small populations within the USA, such as damaging tornadoes, a cruise ship held hostage for ransom, and of course another hurricane that will inundate New Orleans again, but its impact will not be as severe as it was with Katrina. Atlanta will have a 4.5 earthquake by early 2020. Oklahoma will experience a 5.7 earthquake that will affect the area for many years. Talk will be loud about the possibility that the Madrid fault may act, creating a 6.9 earthquake shaking from Memphis to St. Louis. The western region of the United States will have a drastic change by the year 2040, but small earthquakes in Nevada, Arizona, and New Mexico are the predecessors of the big one in California. By Christmas of 2019, the spirit for the holidays will be about the positive aspect of the ending of the year, and many are looking forward to having a new individual for president. There will be a certain rejoice in looking forward to the year 2020. Somehow, most people feel the year will be better than the last 4. But in reality, the year 2020 is going to have more distress, more calamities, and even thought from all aspects of our society. We are going to be hearing that all is going to well for 2020. I can tell you that it will not. A surge of treacherous people speaking deceitfulness, promising so much more when in their hearts they know that they will not. But the people will be so eager for a change that they will believe anybody. This will be the year of treachery not only in America but around the world, and by the way, the year 2020 will be the first signs of the rising of a charismatic individual that will unite all of the fighting groups, and he will be contemplating to advance toward Iran. Iran will be the jewel he must possess, and he will. There is the synopsis of the first and second 4-year periods relating to the United States of America. Many other events will take place such as floods, massive winters, drought, train wrecks, airplane mishaps, and many other mundane events that many skeptics would say would have happened anyway. However, monitoring my website, I will continue providing the reader the mundane to keep you abreast, especially with the period of election before us. Keep an eye on the leaders of Congress, because it is because of them that the years ahead will be futile and filled with arrogance. If I had a magic wand, I would send them all home and elect young dynamic individuals worthy of being called statesmen. Remember this: God does not break promises, nor does he lie. Godspeed, Shalom.